on other people's cartoons when I was working at Disney, Warner Brothers, Hanna-Barbera. A lot of times I'd look at these stories and I'd think to myself, well, what are they doing to make kids to be better people?
Yeah.
And sometimes they were just like pure entertainment and not really giving any kind of message of wisdom or teaching, you know? And
Yeah.
so I thought, gee, when I grow up, I'm going to make my own cartoons.
Yes, I
So,
love it.
yeah. And so I really had the dream always to create media for kids' character development. And then when I retired, I started EDU Designs for just that purpose, so that I could like share some of the things that I've learned. And one of the most important things that I did right off the bat was create an art textbook for children, because in this art textbook, it basically is teaches drawing tips, but interspersed in the stories, there's like a story that goes through the whole art book about a little squirrel that I rescued
Oh,
and raised him from a baby. And so how he grows from being a little baby with his eyes closed and can't see anything and just learns how to feel his way along is just like what we do in art. So
yeah.
the art book teaches like character development. As he grows and learns, we're growing and learning in art. So
Mhm.
my art textbook is something that I offer. And if anybody contacts me and mentions that they heard me on Nada's podcast, then I will give them more than it's a discount. Instead of $37 for the book, I'm going to give them the book for $15 if they mention your name, that they heard it on your podcast. So
Oh,
that's something
wow.
that I wanted to offer everyone. So,
That's
but so
fabulous. Thank you.
yes, and so like, but what's so amazing and wonderful that doing this art textbook, and then when I go to schools, I tell kids, I always give them like little stories and anecdotes and funny things that make a point, because the whole thing is just like there's no purpose unless we're actually learning something in what we're doing, you know. So
Yes.
so
Yeah.
we combine art and education along with the character development. So it's really fun. We have a lot of fun.
Oh, man, how lucky the schools are and the children are to have you. It's what a blessing. That is such a beautiful blessing. I am, if I had kids, I'd make sure that they were at the school that you were going to go to and teach. So
Oh, thank you.
fabulous.
Well, it's a great. You can still enjoy it, you know, even if you're just a kid at heart, right? There was
Yes.
an 80-year-old lady who read my art book, and she said it's good for 80-year-olds too.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. I will absolutely be checking that out for sure. That is so
Well,
cool.
thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And Ruthie, I know that we're going to start running out of time, and I want to make sure that I touch on this because one of the
Hmm.
things that so grabbed me with you is you play on Facebook with your husband. I don't know how often you do it. I just don't.
Oh,
I randomly catch you on there, but
oh,
you
good.
play different instruments. So you're not only an art, like an animation artist, and then if you made
Hmm.
this book, so there's art all in bookmaking, but also
Hmm.
as a musician. And so one of the things that I want to ask you is, so it's a two-part question. What instruments do you play? And number two, your husband was saying something,
Hmm.
I don't remember, maybe a month ago when you guys were playing, that there was a song that you were singing, and one of the Beach Boys heard you
Hmm.
singing that song and said, "That's going to be a big hit." So, I'm dying to know what was the story with the
Oh,
Beach Boys, and
okay. Yes.
what instruments do you play?
Uh-huh. Okay. I play the banjo, the guitar, and a little bit of piano,
Oh,
but mostly the guitar. And
Okay.
but so like when my first husband, and by the way, the one we play every Friday on Facebook, we play a live show on my Facebook page, is with my new husband, who is, well, he's not really new. We've been married for like 6 or 7 years, but
Okay.
we my first husband passed away, and after he passed away, then I met my
Oh,
second husband.
oh,
And God is merciful, because when I want to make this quick, so we don't miss anything. But when my first husband died, and I was like so full of like all the feelings that
oh.
I'd had. It, God restored so much to me
Mm.
with my second husband. He's like the dessert at the end of my life. I just feel
Oh,
so blessed, because I had so many problems with the first marriage, and then he is just wonderful. So we get to play music together, and he's very
yeah.
cool, and I love him. Anyway,
Oh,
so we have a great time. But the reason why I met the Beach Boys, and that was an interesting thing, where like those little things were like, gee, if I hadn't done this one thing, then that wouldn't happen, and this wouldn't happen. Well,
yes.
the reason why I met the Beach Boys was all because it ended up that we helped a friend to move, and in helping my friend to move, Diana Coburn, who's a wonderful author herself, I was helping her move, and one of her paintings on the wall that I was carrying to the truck was of her brother's. And I looked
Mm.
at his artwork, and I thought, he's good. I could do that too. I said, how's your brother doing? And she said, oh, he's fine. He's working at Hanna-Barbera and making $350 a week. And that was way back in 70 or 60 something or other. Anyway, so I thought, wow, and I can draw as good as he can. Why can't I work at Hanna-Barbera? So, well, it ended up, I got his phone number and ended up working at Hanna-Barbera eventually. So,
Awesome.
but the Beach Boy thing was that my friend Diana happened to be the secretary for the Beach Boys at that time.
Oh,
And so my husband and I happened to meet. Um, Gosh, that's another. How we met him was another story where I ended up. I'm trying to condense like all 30 years into 1 minute.
yeah.
Well, my first husband had a friend that we was a mutual friend that owed us $40. And so he lived in Santa Barbara back when, and we lived in LA back when gas was 25 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
And so he called him up and said, hey, my husband called him up and said, hey, about $40? I could really use it right now. So he said, well, come up and see me. So we went up to see him, and we drove all the way to Santa Barbara on our 25 cents a gallon gas. And when we got there, he said, I'm sorry, I don't have the $40. He
Oh
said, but
no.
I'll introduce you to my friend Mike Love of the Beach Boys.
Oh wow, no
And so,
kidding.
yeah, Mike Love lived in Santa Barbara at that time. So we went over, we had a great lunch with him, we had fun, we had such a great time, and Mike loved us. And we, just had such a great time that 2 weeks later he asked my late husband if he could work for him and be his personal property manager. And then 6 years we lived there in Santa Barbara and worked for Mike, and got to meet all the Beach Boys and friends with all of them, and played music. And I got offered an exclusive songwriting contract, which I did not take, but it was an honor to be offered it. So,
Yes, man. Ah,
it was fun.
Ruthie, you've lived such a colorful life, and you have so many more wonderful years and so many more beautiful things to share with the world. But my gosh, what a colorful life. I could sit here and talk to you forever, and we are completely out of time. Again,
Oh,
it
thank you.
amazes
Thank you.
me.
Thank you.
Oh,
Well, maybe
goodness.
you can chop out some of the boring parts.
No, none of it was boring. Absolutely
Oh,
none of it is boring. You
thank
just
you.
I just love the love that you are just such light and such love, and it's just beautiful, and I can only
Oh,
imagine the people that are in your orbit, how good they feel. Because I told you, I've listened to you and your now husband playing on the Friday night, but I think I caught it on a Saturday morning. I was just gonna listen to a little, I was in a hurry, and I ended up listening to the whole
oh,
entire hour, and it was like, it was so
oh,
happy. It's just happy. And
oh, thank
yes.
you.
So I will share, if you're okay with that, I will share your page
Yeah,
also in the
I
show
would
notes.
love
So
that.
yes, because you two are adorable together,
Oh,
and it
thank
just feels
you.
good to be in that energy, even though I'm just watching it through a Facebook recorded video and I don't catch it live. So,
Wow, that's
uh,
great.
yes,
Thank you
yes,
so much. That's what that's all we hope for. That you
yeah,
bring some joy.
yes, and you do. You absolutely do.
Thank
So,
you so much.
Ruthie Elliott Hillsdon, I am just honored to have you with me, and I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that you're still sharing your light and love, and I'm so very grateful that you were here and doing it with me and the audience, and I just can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart.
Well,
Thank you.
Nada, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am looking forward to being able to uh, do some kind of interview if you'll let me interview you sometime as a featured guest on our Spirit-Led Supermoms
Oh,
interviews. 'Cause you are so special, and you didn't get a word in edgewise hardly.
Oh my
So this
goodness.
was
No, this was
fun.
perfect. I wanted to know about you. This is exactly how it was supposed to be. And I would be
Well,
honored to
thank
be
you.
on your show.
Well,
Yeah.
good. Then I'll get to hear all about you next
Yeah.
time.
Yes. Well, thank you again so
Okay.
much. And to all of the
You're
listeners,
welcome.
thank you. And you just cannot listen to this and not just feel uplifted and happy. And that's the joy that Ruthie brings. So the book discounted down to $15 by mentioning being on
Yes,
this podcast or listening to this podcast. All of that
that's
information
right.
will be in the show notes. And thank you for that great offer. That's very generous of you. And thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Ruthie. I'm
Thank you.
grateful. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nada. I sure appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So much love to everybody. Much love to you, Ruthie. Have a beautiful week, and we will be back again next week. Bye bye for now.
Okay. That sounds good. Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nadahogan.com for show notes and other information you can use right away. If you like what you heard here, please subscribe to our show and don't forget to rate and review right there on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your shows. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.